We all miss Tito Chachan a lot. Though the grief lingers on, I have resolved to overcome grief by remembering all the good times we have shared. We were born a decade apart, he in 1949 and I in 1959. In spite of the 10 years of age difference, we always got along well and shared so much whenever we were together. As I was away in boarding school, then NDA and the army, we got together often at our ancestral home in Kerala. The veranda of our typical Kerala home is where we used to spend time, relaxing on easy chairs made of cane, with our feet up on the low wall of the veranda, Aramadal as it is called in Malayalam. We would update each other on our lives. We would share a lot of jokes and laugh heartily. I suppose being in our home where we grew up used to make us totally relaxed and comfortable. A feeling of inexplicable peace would prevail. Sometimes in the evening after supper, we would chat for hours late into the night till sleep overtook us. The memory of the times we spent chatting on that veranda fills my mind with joy, and I'm sure up there in his heavenly abode, Chachan smilingly agrees with me.
Tito Chan is my eldest brother, who we all lovingly refer to as Chachan. Chachan is nearly 12 years older than me, so there was always a big generation gap between the two of us. By the time I was 6 years old in first standard, he was already pursuing his graduation in Guwahati. Most of my early memories of him involve him coming back for holidays from time to time, initially during college holidays and later during breaks from work. Back when he was early in his career, he would jump jobs often and always opting for bigger and better opportunities. And each time he would send me a new office visiting card. I remember collecting and safely storing his new cards. Chachan's job took him to many different countries. Back then in 70s and 80s, there was no way to send selfies or photos, and even phone calls were expensive. So he would send picture postcards from those places, and that also I used to store safely. Chachan was always an avid reader from childhood and would buy or borrow new books to read at every opportunity. Once he completed a book, he would hand it over me to read. That's how I picked up reading as a hobby from young age and something I've passed on to my children too. After he retired and came back to Bangalore, that what I remember most are the frequent visits to my home. His sense of humor and funny stories were always good to listen and laugh about. He was a bit of a public crusader and would write directly to government officials whenever he found some issues that impacted public life. Surprisingly, he would get positive responses from officials too. Apart from this, Chachan was always a Malayali at heart, enjoyed the culture and cuisine of Kerala, and always had a strong palate when it came to food. Chachan lived a good and productive life and is still cherished by his friends and family.
This is John Thomas in Boston. Tito was my first cousin. My memories of him go back to the late 1950s when we were children. I remember one day we were playing at Maliakal House, which was Tito's home, when Cherish, who was very little at the time, wanted to play with us. But we both told him that he could not because he was a crybaby. We had no idea that we were calling a future three-star lieutenant general a crybaby. I appreciated many things about Tito. I liked his gregarious, outgoing personality, his support of progressive Indian politics, his deep knowledge of the history and culture of Kerala, and his love of the beautiful Kerala landscape with its rivers, lagoons, and lush green vegetation. I remember the photos he would send me of him taking boat rides along rivers. I suppose most of all I appreciated his spontaneous sense of humor. No matter what we were talking about, he would say something that would make me laugh. Yes, he was my favorite cousin, and I miss him.
This message is from Sunny and Ratna in North Carolina. We remember Tito hosting us in India. He took us around to different places. He was generous with his time. That generosity was typical of Tito. We miss him, Sunny and Ratna. This message is from Dr. George Thoma. The day Tito saved my life, probably. On every trip I took to Dubai, I always looked forward to spending time with Tito and Molly. I remember one evening when the three of us were in a lovely restaurant surrounded by other diners. Our conversation ranged from Kerala memories of our childhood to Middle Eastern politics. The first was easy and free-flowing. But when I started pontificating loudly on the iniquities of various Arab states after my second beer, Tito gently hushed me. Shh, Georgie Chan. Unlike me, he was well aware of the risk of such American-style free speech. In a soothing voice, he led me back to Kerala memories, a far safer option. This message is from a friend, Rani Koshi, from New Jersey. Tito always spoke about referring to Kerala as Keralam, as that is the noun form. And Rani always made fun of it. And this is what she says.
Hey Tito, miss you, and it's all about Keralam, not Kerala, Keralam.
This message is from Mrs. Bela Bhatt, a colleague of Tito's in Dubai. Tito was truly extraordinary. So was our 30-year-old friendship. Tito went through a lot, but never wore it on his face. He would always find humor in the situation instead of dwelling on the problems. There is always more in life to be thankful for than there is to complain about, he would often say. I'll never forget the first day I met Tito. As I was introduced to him by a HR of Al Musa Group, his infectious laugh and warm smile was very welcoming. From then on, to dinners, to Christmas parties, to holidaying together, we made fond and everlasting memories together. As we gather here today to celebrate the life of our dear Tito, let us remember the laughter, love, and joy he brought into our lives. May his memory continue to inspire us and uplift us.
Hi, I'm Jacob Chaco, to Tito Mohan. When I think of Tito, he was a walking testimony. Any other person who had gone through the various medical challenges that he has gone through, would have easily given up. But he has always lived life to the fullest. Never has he used his illness as a reason for getting away from any commitments, as he was not a man who wanted any self-pity. He obliged several people with favors, getting them jobs, never wanting anything in return. His subtle humor and timely comments are striking and so balanced, but never hurting anyone's feelings. Perhaps only Molly's from time to time. She, with her charisma, never would take heart and always display a smiling face. His love for travel, short drives, meeting people, even during the lockdown, was inspirational to several friends to overcome their fears and helped them tremendously. It's hard to believe a year has gone by. Indeed, a gem we have lost. The void he has left is large. The only grace is he is in a better place, without pain and sorrow. I miss you, Tito. Rest in peace.
During one of our trips, along with Molly and Tito, we had a puncture and we were having problems replacing the punctured tire. After about 10-15 minutes, Tito disappeared. And later, maybe about 15-20 minutes later, he came back with a puncture follow. Of course, he did it in no time. This is a case where he could think differently from others.
This is from a friend of ours from Dubai called Babita Manjeshwar. To our loving and dearest Tito, he was indeed a special soul. Both JP and me remember our numerous Dubai Thursday, Friday weekends at our dear Mathson's home. Tito very fondly recollected and shared several interesting incidents in both Delhi and Yemen, and often of his special friend Pradipto Mohapatra. One very personal interaction I'll joyfully remember was when Tito would take our then 6-year-old daughter Nikita aside and crib about the disadvantages and raw deals of being firstborns. Our son Neil was just born then, and perhaps our attention towards Nikki was somewhat tapered off. Guess that was his way of communicating to us not to sideline our firstborn. Tito was a great actor, engaging Nikita all the way in the serious discussion. With his serious, straight face, ha, Molly, the ever-obliging hostess, paired those afternoons with her awesome kappa mean curries or appam and stews. Happy memories of great company and even better food. Together both, Tito and Molly are friends we'll cherish all our lives. Tito may have left us for a better place in his lifetime, all right, but we definitely meet up again. Cheers, dearest Tito, on this wishful thought, until we all meet again. This message is from another good friend and travel companion, Sharon Simon. We met Tito Chan 5 years back in Mohan Chako's house just before our trip to China. From that day, he was remembered very fondly by us. We have some beautiful memories with him. Though it's only 5 years, we feel we know you both all our lives. Tito Chan had an aura. Our hero worshipped him, and I know he had a special liking for Mohan and me. Molima, you are an inspiration to me. I just want to tell you we are here for you always, and I know you sure we will meet Tito Chan one day at the Lord's table. Love, Shireen.
Hello everyone. I'm nearly 78 years old, but I only met Tito 12 years ago when I came to Bangalore. Tito became my friend and advisor, always there for me with his helpful tips and hilarious stories. Let me tell you how Tito proved his friendship with me. Once I was feeling very sick from my diabetes medicines. Tito drove me to the best clinic and waited with me until I got treated. The prescription I got then is still working for me till this day. He continued to help, whether it was for my cataract operation or getting an Aadhaar card or in a bank matter or when my car needed to be repaired. We were so friendly that we were making plans to spend our future together at a place in Koramangala called Cletus Home for the Aged. We went there and we liked the place, but our wives said we fell for the Malayali nuns, but not Tito and I. We had plans of spending the evening spiritually at the pubs nearby, but that was not to be. Thanks for listening.
Hi everyone. Talking of Tito Chan. For me, Tito Chan is a man shrouded in mystery. Our association goes back a very long time. Apparently, Tito Chan has seen me sing as a teenager at the Marthoma Church. But for Poppy and me, our first memories of Tito Chan and Molly are when we landed as a young couple in Dubai in 1993. This Tito and Molly were one of those very well accomplished, settled couple, and one of the few who lived in villas those days. And they were very social, so they would invite us over every now and then, and we would go there, enjoy Molly's good food, and exchange a few pleasantries with Achan. Then I joined a Malayalam radio station, and Tito Chan was the general manager of a company called the House of Perfumes, dealing with perfumes and fragrances for the Arabic community there. And mine was a Malayalam radio station. I asked Tito Chan if it's okay if I visited him and gave him a sales pitch on my radio station, and he was so welcoming. And so I would visit him every now and then. For me, it was a big deal to put the name of a general manager on my sales report, because for a young executive to be able to see a general manager on a sales call was very impressive. My boss was very impressed. But Tito and I knew for a fact that there's no business coming out of this, because his target audience were completely different. But it worked for us. I would go there and he was so kind. He would give me tea and listen to my non-stop chatter, and we would part ways. So this was a meeting we would have every few months. And fast forward, Poppy and I moved to Melbourne. But thanks to Tito Chan, he kept this relationship going. He would send me forwards and texts and emails, and most of them were highly philosophical. But whenever it came to Christian faith, I would respond, take a lot of effort in responding to those emails. And both Tito Chan and my views were completely different, and neither of us were apologetic about it. I remember my blatant honesty did not drive him away. In fact, I think that was a glue that cemented our friendship. And fast forward 2020, as God would have it, we moved back to Bangalore and moved into their neighborhood, which is it is such a God thing. And I remember in those COVID days, Molly was away with Nidhi in America, and Tito Chan was alone. So Poppy and I would visit him, and also had him over for his birthday. I cooked a meal for his birthday, and he was very pleased. Very hard to please him when it comes to food, because he cannot think of any chef better than Molly. But for some reason, he seemed to have enjoyed the meal. And so that those were seasons where we really built our friendship. And then come last May, all of us at home came down with COVID. But even as I was recovering, I had this compelling feeling that I need to host some of my Marthama friends for a meal at our place, and that obviously included Tito and Molly as well. And so I wrote to Tito Chan, and he straight away accepted it, despite going through his chemo and cancer treatment. He not only accepted the invitation, he even sent me a menu that he wanted and what he could eat. I'll just read that out for you. He said, mildly roasted peanuts with finely chopped onion and coriander leaves, salted lassi, small katori of mutton gravy, ice cream or kulfi for dessert. And then I got busy working around that menu. But I think as the days drew near, he was getting more and more unwell, and he was having problems swallowing. And the night before the dinner, he sent me a text saying, Sheila, I'm sorry, but I have to withdraw the menu, but I will be there. And I still remember that morning he had gone for chemo. Despite that, Molly and he landed up that evening. Looked uncomfortable, but sat through the evening, and he couldn't eat a thing. No, actually I'm wrong. He ate the entrees, but didn't eat any dinner. And he started getting uncomfortable, so they left early. And 2 days after that, he was admitted into hospital. And it was downhill from there on. And I think that was the last social function he went for. But when I think of Tito Chan, I'm sure you all agree, it's easy to conclude that he was a man who was very honest, very sincere. There was no pretense in him. And he hated pretense and hypocrisy. He was loving. He got strange ways of showing his love, though. And he loved being around people, but would hardly talk when he's in a social setting. But he was very helpful, very thoughtful, very honest. He was a good man, but a very unique man. And I think God picked an equally special partner for this uniquely special individual in Molly. And they made a great couple. They complemented one another so well. We love you, Tito Chan. I don't think I'll ever see another Tito Chan. You're one of your kind. And thank you, Molly, for being who you are. God bless you both.
Tito lives on in our hearts. Who can ever forget his wry, inimitable humor or his stoic endurance? Drives in his Mercury, biryani lunches at your home in Dubai, and his unwavering affection are all cherished, indelible memories. We are blessed that our paths converged, and Tito's friendship has enriched our lives.
Tito was the best friend that I ever had. I have such fond memories. Many of them cannot be ever forgotten. The best of them were when we were on trips together. His humor and comments at every sight that we saw kept us laughing and laughing all the way. What was most impressive was, however, how he handled his health situation. It was really challenging and it was very painful to watch him, but at the same time, it was very inspiring. It was amazing to see his tenacity. But the most memorable of the things about Tito was his role as my older brother. He helped me, guided me, advised me in so many situations I can never forget.
Tito always welcomed us with a very warm smile. Time in his company was always full of laughter and fun. His general knowledge about medicine, politics, and anything under the sun was amazing. I remember his fondness for Malayali food and for Malayalam movies. He, he also loved Xian's Chinese food. He had a positive, joyous outlook to life. He traveled all the way to Kanyakumari to see the onset of monsoon. Although he did not see a drop of water, he did not complain. He was happy. That was Tito. He loved traveling to the different parts of India. He was our motivator to go on trips which we thoroughly enjoyed. He was very caring, loving, and always encouraging us. We truly miss our dear Tito.
I can't believe it's actually almost a year that Tirjan passed away. We'll always miss him, and I know visiting Molly after he passed away, that if we ever go to her house, we'll always miss him and he'll always be there. He's always part of us. He was one guy who we could always depend on for words of wisdom, and some things he said always remembered in your mind. I remember when I turned 40, I was very active in sports, doing weightlifting, playing squash, etc. And he told me something which I still repeat to people actually, saying that, remember now, you're 40, all manufacturers' warranty is finished. So please take care of yourself. If you have any problems, you will have to live with it all your life. So just relax and make sure everything is good so that you live a life without any pain. We'll always miss him. Here's Nelly.
Yeah, remembering Tito Chan very fondly this day. He was one person we could always go to for sound advice, and that too in any subject. He was such an avid reader and an avid learner too, always willing to learn. One of those times when he was in a philosophical mood, he shared with us a very tender and compassionate side of him. He was telling us how he had picked up a young boy from the street. I think he came around looking for money, and he drove him to a restaurant and literally fed him. And that was such a beautiful gesture. Tito Cha, we will always miss you, Tito Cha. We love you.
Tito Chan has been a dear part of my life from the year 1977, when I was just 16 years old. That is the year that he got married to Molly Mama and became part of our family. His zest for life and his humor was an integral part of his personality. One incident that I remember very vividly is with my eldest son, Tarun. As you all know, Tarun, when he was young, was very, very naughty. One day we had left Tarun when he was 4 or 5 years old with Tito Chan, and we went out shopping. When we came back after our shopping trip, it was a nice sight to behold when Tito Chan was actually watching TV. And next to him was a round carpet, and Tarun was in the middle of that carpet with his finger on his lips. It was a sight to see because it is very, very rare to see Tarun just sitting in a place without moving. Tito Chan apparently had him grounded there because he was disturbing him. But even though he was strict, they had a very good relationship. All my 3 boys have a very good relationship with Tito Chan because he knew how to communicate with him. I'm always reminded of the comments that he passes when you're driving with him. Some of the comments are just out of the world. To all the people on the side of the road, or someone crosses the road, it's amazing. Tito Chan, we miss you. We love you. You will be sorely missed. Your life has always been, our life will never be the same after you've gone. God bless.
Tito was an unbelievable storyteller, and he told me so many stories about the history of India, his childhood growing up in Kerala, his business life. But the one that always sticks with me the most is when he told me about when Nidhi was born, and he had a colleague who had told him, since he already had a daughter, if he had a son, he would have to give that colleague a bottle of wine in celebration. And so when Nidhi was born, the colleague asked him, "Did you have a boy?" And he said, "Nope, I had another girl." And the colleague said, "That's okay, you don't have to give me the bottle of wine." And Tito said, "No, I'll give you 2 bottles of wine because I'm doubly blessed." And he told me that story long before I had 2 girls of my own. And so it resonates a lot more now and hits home. And I know how much he loved his girls.
I can't pick one specific story because there are too many and it's hard to pick one. But one thing I remember about Papa is that he worked so hard to make sure that his family had a good life. And he wanted to make sure that Nisha and I were well educated. And I'll always be grateful for that. And it's something that I always remember every day, which makes me work harder and want to do the same for my family. So just very grateful for that.
It's almost a year since Papa passed away, and I do miss him. But one of the things that I often think about and I miss because he's not around is the laughter. Because there are a lot of times that we'd have where he'd find something very funny and then can't control his laughter. And one of those incidences happened in Jersey after I'd gotten divorced and they came to visit me. It was one of those days where it was raining and we had gone out and we had umbrellas each. And then we went out, we got a little wet, we came back to the hotel, then we went back out, then we came back in, and then we thought, let's go out for dinner. And so it was one of those days where the wind picked up and we all had an umbrella each. And we came out and the wind just blew the umbrella inside out, and Papa got irritated and we went back into the room. And then all he said was in Malayalam, which I can't say properly, so I'll just say it in English, is, all we're doing is putting our clothes on, taking it off, putting our clothes on, taking it off. And when you hear Papa say that in Malayalam, it sounds funnier than the way I said it. But it's those moments where a simple comment in Malayalam just brought us all laughing because it was just sounded very comical. Yeah, I do miss hearing that at home.